There are tons of places online to find great advice on how to interview and land your job. In fact, my whole channel is dedicated to that. How do you crush your interview and maximize the opportunity to land that job? But there's also some pretty terrible advice out there too. In today's video, I'm going to share some of the common bad pieces of interview advice I have seen so you can avoid them. Let's go. Now, the first piece of advice that I'm going to say that I've seen out there that I think is not great advice is to lie about or exaggerate your qualifications or experience. Now, the advice is basically like, hey, just make stuff up. It's an interview. Feel free to do that. And I think this is a dangerous game. And the reason is for a few. One, they might ask you follow-up questions. And if you're lying about what you're saying in the interview, you might have a hard time answering secondary questions, right? If you make up a project that you did, and then they start asking you second, third, fourth, fifth questions about that, and they dig deeper, sometimes that unravels. And that can be really harmful to your interview credibility. Another thing that can happen is a hiring manager can kind of sense that this seems just a bit exaggerative. Based on the role, I don't think you've accomplished that. I've had several hiring managers say to me that they talked to a person, they liked what they had to say, but they felt like they were exaggerating their experience, and that made them trust them less. They said, hey, how can I trust this person if I feel like they're lying to me in the interview? And I get it. My whole channel is about positioning yourself, answering a question the right way, preparing. But I think there's a pretty big difference between preparing to give a great interview answer that is based on reality and completely fabricating something to give off the impression you have more experience than you do. Even if you get the job, you might find yourself in a situation where you're ill-equipped to function in the role because you have made up experience you did not have. And if that ever comes out that you were lying in the interview, it can actually be cause for termination. Now, the second topic here might sound a little funny coming from me, but the second piece of bad advice that I've gotten or I've heard people say on the internet is to memorize the answers to questions. Now, I have a whole playlist on how to answer questions, specific questions you're going to be asked in the interview process. However, it's really important that you make sure that it comes off as authentic, right? If it sounds too scripted, if it sounds too rehearsed, they are going to see that and it's not going to come off as authentic. And you don't want that. You want to feel, and you want them to feel like in the moment you are giving a real, fair, authentic, and honest answer. So while I think it's important to practice and think about the questions you are likely to be asked and come up with general answers, topics, bullet points, you don't want to spend time in memorizing the answers. So when they ask you a question, you're giving a 30-second memorized monologue. No, think about the question, think about the topics you want to cover, think about some of the bullets you want to make sure you hit on, but have it come out as a non-rehearsed, authentic answer to the interview question in the moment. By the way, if you're finding value in this video, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's free. It tells YouTube I don't suck. It helps the channel a ton, and it motivates me to make more videos like this. And if you're already willing to do that, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you never miss one of my 3 free weekly videos, all designed to help you nail your next interview and maximize your career. The next piece of bad advice I've seen is always wear a suit and a tie. Dress up to the nines every single time. And while I generally agree that it's better to be overdressed than underdressed, I think the best thing to do is dress appropriately. And the reality is, if you come into a machine shop and you're wearing, a 3-piece suit with a Windsor knot, you are going to seem overdressed and you might seem out of place. The best thing you can do is ask the recruiter, hey, I'd like to understand, what do people wear? What is a common attire in your workplace? And finding out exactly what people are wearing, if it's business casual, if it's business, if it's super casual, it's important that you fit in. At the end of the day, it's really important that you're qualified. But secondary to that, it's also important that you fit in with the people you're connecting with, because people want to hire people they like. And if you are similar to them in many different ways, including how you dress and how you show up, that is going to matter. So instead of just always dressing, to the nth degree, find out what they are wearing, where you are going to interview, and try to match that. Another piece of advice that I think is just bad advice is always be 30 minutes or more early. Like, arrive super early to the interview. I actually talked to a CEO once who said that they had a person come in 45 minutes early and it was incredibly annoying to them because now they felt like they had to entertain this person, but they were busy. They had other things going on. The reality is, whoever you are meeting with at a company who is in the position to make hiring decisions is going to be busy. So it's important to respect that by showing up an appropriate amount of time. What time is a good amount of time for you to be walking in to an office that you're going to be interviewing in, I think 10 minutes ahead of time. If you get there 30 minutes early, wait in the parking lot for 20 minutes and walk in 10 minutes early, that is an appropriate amount of time to be early enough for your interview that they say, this person's early, but not so early that they think you're clueless to the fact that a person who is in the position to actually hire someone would be busy. Last piece of advice that I think is really bad is sometimes people say that you need to give these political-esque type answers when you're answering interview questions. For example, what is your greatest weakness? Well, I'm a perfectionist. Nobody believes that, and they're taking it as you're dodging the question. If you answer what is your greatest weakness with the answer I'm a perfectionist, there is not a hiring manager in the world who is going to like that and go, what a great answer. So answering these questions with these political-esque answers, ones that nobody really believes, it's not going to work. That is out. More authentic answers, well, those are in. That's how you want to answer a question like that. It feels a lot more real. It feels like you're an actual person, not a rehearsed robot who's coming in and just saying what they think that the person wants to hear. So that is advice that I would absolutely ditch. If you have been listening to that and trying to do that, I would say go ahead and skip it. Now, these pieces of advice, they could absolutely lose you a job offer. But did you know there are actually things that can lose you a job offer before you even show up to the interview? Well, there are. And it's why I made this video here. This video here is 4 surefire ways that you can lose a job before you even show up to the interview. I know you're curious. Go watch it.